What's going on, Cayman fans? Hey, I've got some work to do on the 987 Cayman S this weekend. I've just recently signed up for my first track event in a very long time, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to flush the brake system. We're going to drop in some performance brake pads. We're going to change the engine oil filter. We're going to bleed the clutch slave, and we're going to top off the power steering fluid and just check the car out, make sure that it's ready. It's been a long time since she's been on the track. So I thought that you guys might like to come along for the journey and see what we're going to do here today. I've used the Motiv power bleeder many times before in the past, and this will be the first time I've used it in a couple of years. This time around, we're going to try a new brake fluid. This is the Motul RBF660. It's a good performance brake fluid. I've tried lots of different stuff, and I think this will do great for my first time back out there. We're going to use my old Motiv power bleeder. I've treated myself to a couple of new canisters because mine were pretty weathered and getting pretty old. And this time we've got a cool new tool that I want to try out. I just got this. This is a brake fluid tester from OTC. This is a division of Bosch Electronics. This little guy will allow us to check our brake fluid to see how bad it is. This is something that I've always wanted to get because I own a couple BMWs and they're always barking at me about changing the brake fluid, and I think that they're recommending it a little bit too soon, so we'll get to use that and try it out. So let's take a look at this this nifty little brake fluid tester. This is from OTC. I've seen a couple of videos of folks playing with these. It's a pretty nice little tool. You stick these probes into the brake fluid, and it can measure the moisture that's in your brake fluid. It gives you a little indication here. Clean, less than 1% moisture, less than 2, less than 3, less than 4. They're recommending a replacement in the 3 and 4 range, and they're saying that 1 and 2 is okay, but I mean, we're kind of anal. We're Porsche owners, right? So we might not be okay with 1 or 2. 3 or 4 is definitely out of the question. So just for a point of reference, let's test this thing out in the brand new fluid and see what it says. We'll open up one of these Motuls. Little blade here. There we go. Now let's see here. I'm going to turn this on. It tells me that it's okay when the battery comes on. I'm going to put this into the fluid, and it's measuring no moisture at all. This is brand new fluid, no moisture. You can see the fluid dripping from the probe. So, okay, so it's telling me that this new fluid is good. We're good with that. We'll put a cap on that because I'm very worried about it. I'm going to wipe off our tool. And now we're going to go try and take a look at the fluid that's in the Cayman right now and see what it says. Let's have a look. So, we're going to find our brake master cylinder under here with our reservoir. Now, before I do this, I have a confession. It's been a long time since I've changed this fluid. I don't even want to tell you how long. I'm going to let you guess. But I do not expect this fluid to be clean. I'm very curious to see just how dirty or contaminated it is, knowing the age of it, and we'll talk about that later. So, first things first, there's a little screen in here. I'm going to have to get that out of there. Got a little pair of needle nose to get that out. Kind of snaps in, just got to give it a little pull. Can't get my probe in there because of that, so I'm going to put that on my rag. Uncover it. We've got green. Let's see how bad my fluid really is. Oh, okay. Not as bad as I thought. I'm going to take this into the camera to show you. You can see there that it was, oh, I don't know if I got there fast enough. Let's try again. Uh-oh. That time I got it to measure up to 3, or less than 3%. So it's telling me that it's definitely time to change the oil. Could have been worse. Again, if you knew how long this oil's been in there, you'd be surprised that it's that clean. I know I am. So we're going to have to go ahead and get started and flush this out of here. We don't want to go to the track with that type of moisture in our brake fluid. So let's get going. We're getting ready to bleed the system and flush it. So I should be hooking up my Motiv power bleeder up to this right now, but I don't like to do that. When I look at this reservoir, there's a whole lot of fluid in here, and we just took a look, and this fluid is pretty contaminated. If I hook my cap on here and start pushing fluid through it, I've got to push all of that contaminated fluid through my system before the clean fluid gets in there. That means I'm gonna guess there's a 100 milliliters in there, maybe. I don't know. We'll find out. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to use another cool new tool that I just picked up. I haven't used this before. I've used other tools to do this. But this is an automotive syringe made just for this kind of stuff, for fluid extraction. So I'm going to get this down into my reservoir. I'm not going to suck out so much that I risk putting air in my master cylinder, but we're going to suck a bunch of this fluid out so that we don't have to push it through the system. I'm watching the level. There's still an awful lot. Holy moly. Okay, so I've got over 100 milliliters out of this already. I'm going to take this and put it into a container that I've got where I'm going to put my bad fluid. And we're going to pull some more out. Okay. I'm going to say I haven't even gotten half of the fluid out of that reservoir yet. There we go. Now I'm getting to see the bottom. So I'm going to put my finger on there. We've got another 150 milliliters. We're taking 300 milliliters out of this. That's 300 milliliters of fluid we would have to push through the system. Well, I'm still going to take a little bit more out. Okay, I can see the bottom of it now, and I don't want to go any lower. I don't want to risk putting air in the system, but I've taken out another, looks like 75 milliliters. So there we go. We've gotten 3/4 of the fluid out of our reservoir. That's that much less fluid I need to push through the system before I have clean fluid going in. Now I'm going to put way too much fluid through this. This system doesn't hold that much, but we're going to put about 2 liters through here because I really want to flush out that old fluid and make sure that it's all fresh and clean and dry. So we're going to take that container that we opened before to do the testing. And we're going to put some fluid in here. There we go. So now I've got a great head start. I've already put in, probably, this is 500 milliliters. I've put in almost 400 milliliters into there. I want to say we took out 375. That makes sense, right? So we've got a good head start. Now we're going to be pushing clean fluid through our system instead of dirty fluid. So before we get going with these cool new canisters, I want to show you a little trick, something that helps me out a lot. These canisters from Motiv hold 500 milliliters. Now, I've tested them, and I've gone into the kitchen and used some of the kitchen utensils to actually put 500 milliliters in here, and I find that it comes up right to this shoulder, right up here, 500 milliliters. Now, I like to have these things marked. Here's my old canisters. You can see it's a little worn out because it's been a while, but you see I have it marked there for 250 and 125, and this one here I had also marked, but you can see they're quite worn off. These are very old, these canisters, but these are brand new. And when I'm taking my fluid out and I'm in the back corner of the car, I like to know, I like to take 150, 200 milliliters out of each side of the caliper if I'm doing 2 liters. So I like to know when I should stop. So I'm going to share a trick with you. I've got a combination square here, and I've set it to a length of 5 5/8 of an inch because that's how long it is to about 500 milliliters in this container. So what I do is I take my combo square here, I take a little Sharpie, and I get a little line on here. And now I'm going to make a mark at every 1 inch and 1/8. That's 100 milliliters. So I come down 1 1/8. I come down to 2 1/4. I come down to 3 3/8. Oh, my finger's on there. 3 3/8, 4 1/2. And now I've got to mark every 100 milliliters. So I'm going to go ahead and write on there 100, 200, 300, 400, and up here is 500. So now I've got a little scale there that I can tell how much fluid I've taken out. And I know when to stop. I don't know, call me crazy. I like to have that. Maybe you'd like to have it too. 5 5/8, go every 1 1/8. That's about 100 milliliters. I've tested it out in the kitchen. It's spot on, and we don't really need to be spot on. We're just taking fluid out. We just want to have an approximation. So hope that helps you. All right, so it's time to get our Motiv ready. This is the Motiv power bleeder. This was used just recently, so it's got some fluid that has just run through it, and lent it to my nephew who bled his brakes with it. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with the one open container that we already have. Actually, you know what we're going to do? I'm going to start by putting on some gloves here because I don't like getting this stuff on my hands. So I'm going to start with the container that we already opened, the one that we used to test the fluid and the one that we used to fill our reservoir with fresh fluid. There's not much left in there, maybe just 100 milliliters. We're going to pour that right into our power bleeder. Give it a second to run out. Now I'm using 2 liters of fluid, which is a little bit extreme for a flush. The system can be flushed very effectively with 1 liter, but because it's been so long since I've done this, I really want to make sure that I get a good flush. I'm going to push a lot of fluid through here just to get all contaminants out of my ABS actuator and all of the lines, and really want to clean out the calipers real well. So I'm going to use 2 liters. It's a little wasteful maybe with the money. This stuff's not cheap. I want to say it's about $30-something per half liter, so I'm going to be pushing $120 worth of fluid through the system. But again, I've kind of let it go a little bit long, so we're going to do that. Also, like to have a bit of fluid in my Motiv so that when I'm back there, it's not sucking air and pushing air into the system. That would just be a nightmare. So I'd rather waste a little money on fluid than have to deal with getting air in there, and then I've got to get the PWIS tool out and turn on the ABS actuator to get that air out of there. I don't want any part of that. So instead, we're going to put a lot of fluid in this thing and make sure that it's ready to go. Keep 1 bottle aside because we're going to not use it all. We're going to take a little bit just in case I need to top off. We're going to get a little bit back there, but we got to keep in mind that it's open now. So, got my fluid in there. We're going to put the cap on. Now, I don't know what kind of fluid my nephew was using, and I don't know how clean it is, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to push a little bit of fluid through these lines and just flush out my Motiv with a little bit of fluid. You can see the fluid coming through here? See it coming? Okay, so I'm kind of priming my lines and I'm bleeding them out too. It's going into my container here. So I've sacrificed just a little bit of fluid to go ahead and do that. I'm trying to undo my cap here so I can depressurize it. Okay, make sure your cap's not on tight. That way you can loosen it up and stop the pressure. There we go. So we're in good shape now. I'm going to pinch this a little bit, lift it up. There's no pressure. Great. Perfect. Spilled a little bit of oil here. I'm going to wipe it up. And now we're going to go ahead and put this onto our car. But before we do, I have this really cool tool, a 5-gallon bucket. That's going to go in the front of my car so that I can put my Motiv on top of it and it's not hanging by the hose. Okay. Here's my Motiv. I put my cap back on while we were talking. I didn't want to leave it exposed to the air. There we go. I got a little twist in my cable, so I'm going to give my Motiv a couple of turns just to untwist it. There we go. Don't want any kinks. And we dripped a little bit of fluid while we're putting this on. Okay, we're going to clean that up. Put our cap on good and tight. So now my reservoir is full. My line is full. I'm not going to be pushing much air into there, but there's room for a little air. We could get a little air in there, and it's not going to enter the system because it's a nice full reservoir. But we're going to pressurize the Motiv, and we're going to put the car up in the air, get the wheels off of it, and then we're going to start bleeding. Here we go. I'm going to bring the camera down a little bit. And we're going to go for 15 psi. 5, 10, 15. I'm going to give this a little turn. There's a little twist on there. But I'm going to show you. Can you see that gauge right there? It says 15 psi. That's how much pressure we're going to use, about 1 bar. It's on my 5-gallon bucket, like that. That's very good. All right, we've moved the camera to the back of the car. Next step, get the car in the air, get the tires off, then we can start bleeding. Let's get started. I'm going to probably fast forward through this for you. It's not all that fun to watch. We'll see you. All right, that wasn't so bad. Time to start bleeding. All right, so here we are. We're in the right rear corner of the car. This is the right rear tire. It's always best to start at the furthest brake caliper from the master cylinder, and that's going to be our right rear. I've got a little drop light zip tied up in here just so you guys can see what's going on here. I'm going to try to do this as best I can with a fixed camera angle, but this is our caliper here. We've got 2 bleeders, the outer bleeder, the inner bleeders. A lot of people have different opinions. I always start with the inner and then go to the outer. I've heard it both ways. I can't make a good argument either way, but I like to start with the outer, get all of the fluid out, and then, or I'm sorry, the inner, and then go to the outer. Now, there's something I like to do. It's a little different. There's fluid in this caliper right now, right? So the pistons are pushed out and there's fluid behind them, and we're kind of hoping that we're going to flush that out of there. Well, I'm also changing the brakes for the track, so I'm going to be pulling these pads out. So what I'm going to do is once we start bleeding this, I'm going to push those pistons in to displace the fluid that's behind them so that I know I can force out all of the old contaminated or just old fluid. I want to get as much new fluid in there as I can. So let's get started. We're going to start by opening up this cap here. I have a couple of tools on the standby over here. I've got a flat screwdriver that I use to just kind of get under that rubber cap. Sometimes they get a little sticky. I don't want to rip them. Careful. Okay, I got my cap off, right? This is going to be an 11 millimeter. So I have an 11 millimeter box wrench ready to go. I'm going to kind of just tap this right now to get it a little bit loose before we get going. Okay, so now I've got it loose and I'm going to leave my wrench on there. Let's get our bottle. So I've got my Motiv bottle that we marked up. And this car, I like to put it on the back. There's a suspension connector there. I like to let it rest on that. And I take the cable and I put it up over my spring here like this, just so it can't fall off. And I've got these nifty little spring-loaded clamps that I'm just going to put onto that cable, just so if this thing gets knocked over or anything, it doesn't go anywhere. But ultimately, the weight of the fluid is going to be suspended by the suspension member. I'm going to bring you around over here, see if you can see that. So you see, I've got my bottle resting on that member. It sits there nicely, right? And then I've got my cable just holding on to one of my springs up there. Let's put you back over here. Okay, so I'm going to get my hose on that bleeder. And now we're going to open it up a little bit. It's still under pressure, 15 psi. We see that going out of there, right? I've got another tool on standby, a pair of channel locks with tape on them that I'm going to use to squeeze my pad in to displace more of that fluid. I'm going to open this up good. There we go. So I've pushed my pad all the way out, so the pistons are all the way in. There's as little fluid in that thing as there can be. So now we're just going to wait and watch this guy fill up. It's going slow. We're going to take a walk around the front of the car. Let's have a look. We're still at 15 psi. Everything's looking good there. So it's coming slowly. I'm going to open the valve up a little bit more. I'm going to put you down. Okay. I'm going to open this up a little bit more. There we go. Now I can see a bubble. A bubble just came out of there. That's not cool. Don't want that in there. We'll bring this up for us to watch, okay? I'm going to take about 200 milliliters out of each side. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. That'll be 1.6 liters. I got 2 liters to play with. I feel good about that. Ooh, look at there's a couple of bubbles, huh? Wow, I don't know if you can see that. Wow. Brake pedal felt pretty good. There's definitely air bubbles. We're at 100 milliliters so far. Make sure that pressure hasn't pushed my calipers out. It hasn't. We're good. We're right about 200. I'm going to start closing it. All right, that's closed. The cap is in the way there. Let's get that out here. Okay. I'm pinching the hose right now so that the fluid can only go down. There we go. Rest it on my arm. Give that a good tighten. Very good. Okay. Now, we're going to go to the outside. Okay. Broken it loose. Get our hose on here. Let's open the outer. And here comes the fluid. All right. With this bleeder open, I'm going to do the same things I did with my other pad. I'm going to put my screwdriver here so that the other pad can't move. I'm going to give this pad a little squeeze. That's forcing all of the fluid out of this outer portion of the caliper. Those calipers are completely collapsed. Let's see how we're doing. 200 now. We're going to go for a walk. Let's take a look at our pressure gauge, see if we've lost any pressure in front. Oh, down to 10. Still got plenty of fluid. Back to 15. There we go. We're waiting for that to fill. I'm going to pull the hardware out. I'm going to leave those in there just in case the pistons push. Got my PAGID RS29s, yellows. Drop those in there. And we're waiting for that fluid. I'm gonna change my pads. There it is, okay. There we go. There we go. I changed the pads while we were waiting for the fluid. And the fluid's looking pretty good. I'm going to stop it. Once again, I'm going to pinch my hose real good. Lift it up. Let the fluid go down. Clean up all the loose fluid there. And we're going to tighten this up good. There we go. We've taken out about 400 milliliters out of the right rear. We've changed our pads. Now I'm just going to repeat the same process on the rest of the wheels. I'm going to go to my next left rear. That's the next furthest one from the master cylinder. Then I'll go to my right front. Then I'll do my left front. We'll see you guys in a few minutes. Hey there, we are in the left front wheel well right now. This is the last wheel. I've done the other rear and the other front, but I figured you guys might want to see one of the fronts. It's really not much different than the backs, but maybe you just want to see it done. So we're going to go ahead and do the final wheel here. I've got my drain can. I'm going to go ahead and clip it to my spring. There we go. Now this time I'm resting it on the tie rod. Let's take the camera off here. We're going to show you. We're down here holding the weight on the tie rod end, which is very much like the back where we use the toe brace there. So there's my drain can. I'm going to get under the caps here with my little screwdriver and gently work them off. Sometimes these guys get stuck and won't want to rip it. There we go. Once again, we're going to do the inner first. I'm going to, just like last time, get my wrench on there and get it a little bit loose before I get my hose on. Wrench, hose. We got some good air out of the other one. There we go. I'm going to do the inner. Yeah, the right front wheel had a lot of little air bubbles in there. That's something. Pedal felt pretty good, but there's clearly some air in there. So once again, while we're waiting on that, I'm going to go ahead and pull these brake pads out because we're getting ready for the track. We're going to put the yellows in. Use my protected vice grips, or channel locks, I should say. Gently, I'm squeezing these gently. I don't want to put too much pressure in the system that's going to fight the power bleeder. And there we go. I've got it fully collapsed. Just to make sure, I'm going to insert a screwdriver between the pad and the disc, and I'm going to give it a little pry. Because keep in mind, our system's under pressure right now. That power bleeder is not putting a lot of pressure, but enough to move these pistons out a little bit. Okay. Now, with my screwdriver in there, I'm going to squeeze my other pad. It's going to push the fluid out. All right, feeling good. We've got about 100 milliliters bled out right now. I'm going to give this a good push. Push down on my hardware, brush my pin out. There's my hardware and my pin. Now, because the system's under pressure, I'm going to get ready here. I'm going to push those pistons in good. And these are brand new pads, so there's no room for that piston to move. I'm going to take this out, slide that guy back in there. Do the same with my outer one. We're coming up on 150 milliliters. Fully pressed pistons. Pull it out, slide it in. You don't see, but I'm cleaning my pin over here. Get my pin lined up. Push down on my spring. I'm going to stop because we're right about 200 milliliters. Don't want to take my eye off the ball. Okay. Tighten that up. You're going to see we got just about 200 milliliters out of that inner side. So, oh, I'm dripping a little bit. I'm going to come over here. Open my outer. Oh, they're little. Yeah, look at that. See that? Air bubbles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 air bubbles. That's why we're doing this. Well, one of the reasons. Doing it to get fresh fluid, right? But getting the air out's good too. There we go. I use this just to line up my my retaining pin. If it's way over here, it's tough to put in. I like it right out here. Just a pick, little pick. There we go. We put the track pads in. Just a little bit of fluid there. Huh? We've got our track pads in. We've got our inner side bled. The outer side's bleeding. We're up to almost 250. We got a little ways to go here. I'm gonna go check my pressure. So we are just under 400 milliliters, but I'm starting to see some air bubbles in my from my Motiv. That's okay. Remember that the reservoir can hold good 300 plus milliliters, so we're not putting air in the system yet, but we don't want to put too much air in there. So I'm going to call it quits right here. Well, we're right about 400. Okay. Nice and tight. Wiggle my hose. I'm going to call that a wrap. All right, time to put the wheels back on. I'm getting to it. Yeah, so you just saw me. Yes, I did. I put all my lug nuts on by hand using this little palm ratchet, 19 millimeter socket. I like to put them in. I saw a guy cross thread them when I was a kid, and he got all upset, and it scarred me for life. So I always start my my lug nuts by hand, and then I just kiss them very lightly with this. I don't use this for final tightening. We're gonna put a torque wrench on those once the car's back on the ground. All right, so we're done bleeding. We finished all 4 wheels. I've put the wheels back on. Probably could have done this before putting the wheels on, but we've still got our Motiv hooked up and we're still pushing 12 PSI. So now it's important that we carefully, without making a mess, release this pressure from here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to slowly and gently loosen this cap until I hear a little air is going to start squeezing. There it goes. Bam. All gone. Down to 0. So you don't want to do it too fast. It could pop off and make a mess. Just go nice and easy till you hear the air. Let the excess air out now. I'm going to let the car down, take the cap off, clean up anything that's dripped, and we're going to be in good shape. All right, car's on the ground. We're going to take this cap off, put it back to normal. I got a little carried away there, huh? Okay. All right, not too bad. Got a couple of rags handy here. My reservoir is to the full mark. I'm going to show you that. Let me get this out of here. And we're going to bring the camera over here. Okay. I want to show you. Don't know if we can see that, but I am right to the max mark. That's like a perfect level right there. So got my screen back in there. Put my cap on. I'm feeling really good about this. I've got some fresh fluid. We've pushed almost 2 liters of fluid through here. We've collapsed our calipers. We've changed our pads. We're on our way to being ready for that next track day.